of times Trump's name appears in the files, so it could at least be 1,000 times. Is that right?
The number is a total misleading factor. We have not released anyone's name in the Epstein files that has not been credible.
Director, could it at least be 1,000 times?
We have released every piece of legally permissible information.
Okay,
you can characterize the numbers however you want it.
Reclaiming my time, Director. It sounds like if you don't know the number, it could at least be 1,000 times.
It's not. It's not.
Is it at least 500 times?
No.
Is it at least 100 times?
No.
Then what's the number?
I don't know the number.
I understand why the victims are frustrated, and the Attorney General acknowledged what Mr. Patel would not acknowledge, that it was way more than 1,000 times. But I want to move, Madam Attorney General, to weaponization of government. And yesterday it was reported that 6 members of Congress had indictments sought against him, and they were not returned by a grand jury. My colleagues have spoken about their frustration of being in subpoenas and having cell phone records combed through. Well, in 2017 and 2018, Adam Schiff and I had our cell phone records and email records combed through, not by you, but a different Department of Justice under the President. It was in retaliation for our role in the Russia interference campaign. An Inspector General report would find this improper and that the predicate for it was absurd. In 2020, after sitting on 2 committees that were a part of the President's first impeachment, an FBI agent leaked my cooperation in a national security case where my campaign was targeted. The President's FBI senior leadership authorized 2 statements to the press that said I was never suspected of wrongdoing and only helped the investigation. But that didn't stop the death threats or my GOP colleagues from referring me to an ethics investigation where Kevin McCarthy's chairman on the ethics committee would find the same thing as the FBI. Our current FBI director would then write a book called Government Gangsters and identify a long list of enemies. About a quarter of them have been either investigated or indicted. He listed me at the very top, along with Adam Schiff, and during that same testimony, refused to recuse himself when asked if he would recuse if any case came across his desk involving me or people on that list. Since that testimony, his department has put me under investigation with Senator Schiff for the nonsense mortgage fraud cases that we've seen. I get it. This is what the President does. I've priced it in. We have a bingo card at home that my kids have made of what will come next. I expected that the President would come after his enemies. But what I want to talk to you next is serious, and I did not expect this would happen, and I'd like your help on it. The President has inspired death threats against me and many sitting up here with me. In June 2025, an individual left 11 voicemails at my district office. On the voicemails, they said, "Get the message to him. I'm gonna hunt him down, that motherfucker, and toss his ass over the Golden Gate Bridge by my fucking self." Donald Trump's Department of Justice in the Northern District of California declined to prosecute. On May 14, 2025, on Twitter, responding to something I posted, an individual said, "No, it wasn't Eric, and now I'm going to kill you." The Department of Justice from the Southern District of Texas declined to prosecute. May through December of 2025, we received messages at my office that said, "I hope somebody shoots you and your children and your wife in the head. Pew, pew, motherfucker, pew, pew." I would stay indoors as much as possible, and my children, unfortunately, have to do that. The Department of Justice has not charged this individual and cited that he's a prolific caller and has health conditions, although what we have found in our own investigation and his voicemails is that he has said he will employ others to do this. The President can come after me. It's fine. I'm in the arena. So are these folks. But we never expected that the Department of Justice would not seek to prosecute and investigate those who are making threats against us. And that would include those on that side of the aisle. And I'm just asking for your help to protect life, because life is at risk with the environment we're in right now.
Congressman, I completely agree with you. I know about several of those personally involving you. I believe one has been charged publicly, and there's something I would be happy to talk to you about off camera, but I can assure you that they are very serious. They are being looked into, and I can give you more details on those. None of you should be threatened, ever. None of your children should be threatened. None of your families should be threatened. And I will work with, you can come into my office any day. I will work with all of you on both sides of the aisle if you are ever threatened. And I'll gladly talk to you after this hearing about your cases, but I can tell you some of them are very active.
Appreciate that. And I yield back.
Gentleman yields back, and we're sorry for what the gentleman and his family have had to go through. We appreciate what the Attorney General said, and I think some of the things that the gentleman from California related, we can all relate to, and it's unfortunate, it's wrong, as the Attorney General said, and we appreciate the help we get from the Justice Department. With that, we will now recognize the
What you just heard wasn't political spin. It was basically a charge sheet. Senator Patty Murray comes prepared. Specific laws, specific decisions, specific consequences. When she says Rubio impounded billions of dollars that Congress had already approved, here's what that actually means. The administration refused to release money it was legally required to spend. That's not a policy disagreement. That's not different priorities. That is potentially illegal under federal law, including the Impoundment Control Act. Presidents do not get to veto spending after Congress has already passed it. That's not how the Constitution works, and courts have ruled on this repeatedly, including rulings against the Trump administration on similar issues. This is where Rubio's defense starts to unravel. He didn't just stumble into this job. He spent years in Congress. He knows exactly how appropriations work. He knows Congress controls the purse. So when USAID staff are suddenly locked out of their systems, when offices shut down, when projects stop overnight, that's not confusion. That's not bureaucratic chaos. That's a deliberate decision. And Murray doesn't stop there. She brings it home. American companies completed contracted work and then didn't get paid. Workers lost their jobs. Businesses had to lay people off. That's not abstract foreign aid politics. That's Americans paying the price for political games. Then comes the Supreme Court issue. And this is where things get even more intense. Murray reminds Rubio, the administration lost in court. They were ordered to pay. And yet, payments still aren't fully made. That matters, because when Rubio later says, we've done nothing illegal, that claim starts sounding shaky. If the highest court in the country orders you to pay and you delay or half comply, your argument about legality starts to fall apart. Let me ask you something. If you ignored a Supreme Court ruling in your own life, how long do you think it would take before consequences hit? Exactly. Throughout this exchange, Rubio keeps dodging direct answers. He talks about hundreds of briefings. But briefings aren't documents. Briefings aren't transparency. Oversight doesn't run on vibes. It runs on records. Watch how many times Murray asks a simple yes or no question and never gets one. Will you share the El Salvador agreement details? He reframes. Will you provide funding specifics? He says the country can spend the money however they want. And that right there is why Congress wants the documents. Taxpayer money does not stop being accountable just because it crosses a border. But Rubio never clearly commits to handing anything over. He keeps talking, expanding, redirecting, until time runs out. That's not strength. That's running out the clock. His El Salvador explanation? Especially weak. He argues that once law enforcement assistance is provided, how it's used isn't our problem. But that's not how congressional oversight works. If U.S. funds are connected to detention, incarceration, or deportation policies, Congress absolutely has the right to know the terms. Pretending otherwise doesn't make it true. And notice how defensive things get when Murray presses harder. The energy shifts. The tension rises. It's not quite a shouting match, but it's close. Because if everything were clean and lawful, the documents would shut this down immediately. Instead, he avoids them. Then the conversation turns to the State Department reorganization. Hundreds of offices eliminated, layoffs proposed, programs cut. Murray asks, which offices? Why those offices? Based on what analysis? Rubio doesn't give clear answers. He shifts responsibility to OMB. And that's another red flag. Leadership means owning your decisions. If you believe in your plan, you explain it clearly. You don't pass the buck. When the person in charge can't clearly articulate the strategy, that's a problem. So here's the bigger question for you watching this. Why does Marco Rubio keep asking for trust instead of providing proof? Why does transparency sound like something he's negotiating instead of something he owes? Because here's the reality. This is how power gets stretched in real life. Not always through dramatic scandals, but through delay, deflection, stonewalling. Rubio didn't win this exchange. He survived it. He avoided direct answers, let the clock save him, and walked out without fully committing to disclosure. And when a cabinet secretary treats Congress like an inconvenience instead of a co-equal branch of government, that should concern everyone, no matter which party you support. If you're tired of the dodges, the deflections, and the trust us routine, you already know what to do. Hit like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe right now. We're not letting this slide. There's more coming. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.